and welcome to the 4 secret steps to weight loss, which is what I cover in my upcoming book, Weighted: The Real Reason Why You Can't Lose Weight and Why You Sabotage the Best Version of Yourself. So thank you for joining me. A little background about me. My name is Zen Burgos. I have been a fitness professional for over 30 years. I'm best known from Bravo TV shows Workout and Exercise TV's The Skinny. I opened my own studio called Elliptahit, which is an award-winning elliptical plus strength training weight loss studio and workout. But before you get into the diet and exercise thing, which by the way, I'm also a nutritionist, I've got a certification from Precision Nutrition, which is one of the most respected nutrition certification companies, where you can really find out what you need for your body. So you shouldn't be using some cookie cutter nutrition plan. You should be finding out what your body specifically needs. And that's what I do. I help people figure that stuff out and eat according to what they need as well as their preferences. So if you hate certain things, of course, you don't have to have them. There's workarounds, which is great. So I can help you do that too. So I've been doing that, the fitness, the nutrition, for decades, right? What I haven't been doing up until the last couple of years is finding out why we go off plan, right? Like anybody can walk or exercise and, eat chicken on a salad for 30 days and you'll lose weight. You just will, right? But that's not the way to lasting weight loss because that's not sustainable. The key is to find out why you grab what you grab when you go off plan and how that's been affecting you probably for years and decades, like it was affecting me. I didn't realize how much I had been sabotaging myself until recently, really. So I really dug into the research. I went to doctors, I went to alternative healers, I got lab work done, I tried supplements, I tried medications, like I tried so many things to figure this out. And really what did it came down to therapy circles that I was in, which really brought my awareness to the surface. So that's what I want to do for you. I want you to know why you grab pizza, or why you get the treats at night, or why you drink a little bit too much, right? Or why, like on the weekends, you just go, forget it, I'll start Monday. Like why we do that. And then also why we're grabbing what we're grabbing. Like not everybody gets the same thing as far as food, right? So there's lots of things. Like there's alcohol, there's, you could be gaming too much, you could be scrolling on your phone too much. There could be lots of reasons why you are avoiding or doing unhealthy behaviors, right? And we all have different choices, right? We've all created different strategies. So that really comes to the first step of weight loss, which is awareness, right? Why you're doing what you're doing and when did you start doing that, as well as what kind of link do you have in your head, right? When did you start doing that behavior and why? So let me give you an example. Okay. So one of my clients, when I asked her these questions, she was like, oh, I don't know. Right. Like never really thought about it. I just kind of like sugar. Right. So I said, all right, well, let's dig in a little bit. Let's see if this technique could help you. Right. So let's look. So after I asked her a bunch of questions about, all right, when's the first time you can remember really having a lot of sugar and it being an enjoyable experience for you? When was that? Think like way back into your childhood, because a lot of the stuff we adopt in childhood and then we just kind of keep going with it, right? So we looked back and she said, you know what pops into my head right now is Christmas time. At Christmas, that's when I felt really great and my aunts were around and we all were making Christmas cookies and we would indulge and I loved it. And really, when I think about it, that was the only time my mom was not only okay with it, but even encouraged me to have Christmas cookies and stuff because she was always very beauty conscious and kind of shamed me when I would go for treats later. So I remember hiding my treats from my mom, especially as a kid. And I said, okay, interesting, right? And she said, I never really thought about that before. So this first step is just the awareness that there are those kinds of links. There's some kind of link to the food or beverage or behavior that you do to soothe yourself, right? That makes you feel better in times of stress or when things are chaotic, because, life, right? So, when is that for you? What's going on, right? So, that's part of it, right? You want to see what the connection is. What's the food? What's the behavior? What is it? When's the first time I can remember, right? And even if you're guessing, just take a best guess. This doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to worry about being perfect, right? Just take a best guess. Like, when did you start using that strategy as your self-soothing behavior? When did you notice it? What thoughts pop up? And just kind of take a deep breath right now and think about those connections. Think about those memories. Now, if you're like me, I have very few memories of childhood because when you're stressed out, and I had some emotional trauma happen as I was growing up, it's been linked to having some memory loss. Like, you can't really remember stuff when you're in a stressful situation or survival mode, right? When you're constantly like walking on eggshells, kind of thing. So I don't have a ton of memories, but I do have a few. And I can remember, and I don't know if it's the first time, right? But for me, having sugar, having candy, having chocolate chip cookies specifically, right? So it was when I was a little bit older. I wasn't super little. Like, when I was super little, candy was definitely like free for all on holidays. So I know why that's a connection for me, right? That's an obvious one. Another one that's very specific for me is I remember eating chocolate chip cookies and making chocolate chip cookies when I had a sleepover. So I had friends over, we stayed up late, it was really fun. My mom and dad had, encouraged me and allowed me to make chocolate chip cookies and eat all of those with my friends. So it was a time that I can remember feeling loved, supported, encouraged, accepted, all those things. So that and those feelings were all wrapped up for me in chocolate chip cookies. So going forward, decades, right? I always loved chocolate chip cookies, and I still love chocolate chip cookies, but I couldn't stop at just one cookie when I was in a really stressful time, right? So that became a aha moment for me when I realized I'm linking up my love and those feelings with chocolate chip cookies. So that would be a go-to for me, right? So that's just an example. You might have another example. So here's how you kind of dwindle if you're like, oh, I don't know what mine are. Okay. Take a deep breath again and look at what foods or what drinks or what behaviors specifically you go to after you've had a hard day. So think about that for a moment, right? And you might just think, oh, I just, grab fast food, or I order pizza, or at the end of the night, I sit down and have a glass of wine with my partner, right? So just think about what you do when life gets crazy. Now think about, when was the first time you did that behavior? When was it? And maybe your memory is a little bit hazy. That's okay. When was that? And then think of how long you've been doing that since your first memory of doing that. Has it been a while? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. So it's been a while, right? So for me, it really was. It was about 40 years I've been doing this self-soothing behavior without really realizing, right? So I never made that connection of the food equaling that emotional payoff for me, but that's what it was, right? So in therapy circles, like I said, this is a lot more well known in therapy circles, but for me, being in that, health and wellness space, not everyone goes to therapy, right? That's okay. I mean, I wish everybody went to therapy. I think we could all use it, right? We've all got pain and trauma and stuff in our past. We all have stuff that's been painful. So I think we can all use it, but not all of us go, and not all of us are capable of going. And I completely get that. So I want these types of techniques to be really well known in just our culture. I would really love that for everyone to get that there are these connections and this is why we do certain stuff, right? So that's kind of my mission. I want you to know, even if you've never been to therapy, that this kind of stuff can help you, right? So maybe you also think too, like this isn't about, oh, I had a bad childhood. No, it's not about that. Even if your parents were awesome, right? They are still only human and they don't always meet your needs. And you might have had some pain, even if you think it's not so bad compared to anyone else, it's valid. If you feel like something was painful, even if someone else tells you it isn't, it's valid. Your pain matters. You matter, right? Okay, so after you have awareness of what you've been doing, why you're doing it, right? Then we go on to step two. Step two is acceptance, right? You need to accept how your life has been affected by these strategies you've adopted, by these behaviors that you've been doing to soothe yourself, right? And this can be a tough one. It can be really tough because a lot of times we like to tell ourselves something isn't that bad. We like to make ourselves feel better, right? Like, that's not hard to understand. We like to feel better, right? We don't want to feel pain. We don't want to feel upset. We don't want to feel like, oh my God, there's no hope. We don't want to feel that stuff, right? So we tell ourselves it's not that bad. But I encourage you to take a moment to look at what your unhealthy behavior of choice, right? What that was, and what that is actually done to your life, right? Now, I'm not saying you're responsible for choosing this strategy because let's face it, as kids, we do the best we can. We don't have a lot of power, right? We're just trying to deal with the world that's coming at us, right? And some people are better equipped and some people have more support than others, right? Like there's a lot of variables there. So give yourself a break for, having chosen whatever you chose to make yourself feel better. You're doing the best you could, right? But at this point, I want you to look at how has it actually affected your life, right? So the easiest one for me to look at is weight gain. So I know a ton of people who have weight gain. I honestly don't know anyone who's not trying to lose weight. That's just me. I don't know one person who's not. I don't know anyone that's like, I'm totally happy with my body. I don't know anybody like that. So if you do, that's awesome. But I don't know anyone like that. So when looking at weight gain, how has that affected your life? Really? We want to dig into this. And the reason why I want to dig into this, it's not to cause you pain, but studies have shown that humans are way more motivated to get away from pain than they are to go toward pleasure. So you might want to have that ideal body, and that sounds nice, but that's not going to make you go toward it as much as, oh my God, my doctor said I'm going to die if I don't change my behavior right now. Right? So which one feels more compelling, right? Of course, if you're going to die, you're going to try and make some changes, right? So I want you to really look at how bad some of these behaviors have affected your life, right? And don't feel shame and don't feel responsibility for it, but let's see what the effect was, right? So for me, I realized that having all this weight gain and constantly battling it, especially being a fitness professional, was really tough. It affected my self-esteem, it affected my confidence, it made me feel like I didn't know what I was talking about because I kept eating for self-soothing behavior and it was sabotaging all my hard work. I would exercise a lot. I knew a lot of the good foods to eat. And when I was on plan, it was awesome. And really, before 40, my body would snap back much faster if I would just be really strict for a little while. That would work for a little while until it didn't. Because after 40, my hormones changed, right? Post baby, my hormones changed. My body changed. Post super stressed out me, my body changed, right? So things changed after medication, things changed after gut issues. Like my metabolism slowed way down. So I didn't realize for decades how bad those behaviors of eating sugar and having chocolate chip cookies, for example, right? And having all that stuff constantly, I was working so much harder and putting so much more energy into my fitness and my wellness than I would have needed to if I would just have adopted healthier strategies. My life would have been a lot easier, right? And I wouldn't have failed that one business because it affected my confidence a lot, right? I wouldn't have stayed in certain relationships that were terrible for me because my confidence, man, right? So a lot would have been different for me. And I have a moment of sadness for realizing how much I was sabotaging myself. So, how much have you sabotaged your happiness and your best self because you've been using these self soothing behaviors to just deal with the world, right? It's just the strategy you came up with and stuck with. Good news is you can change it, right? You can change it. You can absolutely change it. But having that moment of feeling this pain is going to motivate you more to go toward that life of your dreams, right? By getting away from that pain. If you keep going, right? And here's the other thing. Do you think if how you're being right now, you're keeping your behaviors, you're like, yeah, it's not so bad. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Do you think your body and your life is going to stay the same in a year? No. Your health's going to get a lot worse if you don't make changes, right? That's the scary thing. It's not just going to be the same as it is right now today if you keep going without finding a healthier strategy for you, right? It's going to get worse. And that's painful, right? And that's what I want you to feel for just a moment so we can stay motivated to dig a little bit deeper. Okay. So let me ask you again, what has this unhealthy behavior done to your life? What has it kept you from? Did you not go for that job that you wanted? Did you stay in a relationship too long that wasn't great for you? What was it? Has your health really suffered? How bad? Take a moment and think about it because it's sad when you really look at, how it's affected you. And chances are, if you've been doing this for decades like I did, you've missed out on a lot. And that hurts. And it might make you angry. Anger is just an emotion. It's just a message, right? It tells you that some boundary of yours has been violated and that something needs to change. That's what anger is. You don't just want to stay angry. You want to listen to the message and do something different, right? So accept what this behavior has done to your life, right? And I personally believe, no one deserves any of the pain or any of the trauma that's happened to them. No one deserves that, right? But we, have to figure out how to get through it, how to deal with it, right? How can we make things better? How do we move on from that pain? without just shoving it down or denying it, which is what a lot of us do. I was doing that, so I was denying myself how painful stuff was. So accepting how these strategies, these behaviors that have affected your life, you got to feel that pain for a second, right? And just feel it. Don't deny it. Don't shove it down. Don't numb it with food or alcohol or a distraction of some kind, right? Just feel it. Because that's how we're going to change it. Because a better life is absolutely waiting for you on the other side of this. Okay. All right. Let's get to the next step, shall we? All right. The next step is responsibility. And everyone kind of feels like they know what responsibility is. Like, oh, I take responsibility for my actions. I say I'm sorry and then I change my behavior. So I would like you to take a kind of a different look at responsibility. Think of it as response ability, right? So the ability to respond. And I feel like we can only have the ability to respond to things in a healthier way once we've healed some of our past pain, our past trauma, our past unmet needs. Because once you heal that stuff, you're no longer triggered and have this knee-jerk, unhealthy behavior happen, right? When something triggers you, because it will, right? You're not going to go through your life and be healed and untriggered. You just won't. You will be triggered from time to time. You absolutely will be. But when you're more healed, when you've validated your pain, when you've accepted what has happened and how that's affected your life, now you'll have the ability to respond differently, to respond in a more empowered way, to respond in a strategy with a strategy that is healthier for you, right? So once you heal this stuff, you've got awareness, you got acceptance. Once you take responsibility so you can respond, you have the ability to respond to triggers in a healthier way, your life's going to change, right? So changing your responses to people, like think of how you're triggered. Just think of things that bug you, right? Think of, a certain situation over the last week, right? What has stressed you out? What has felt chaotic? What was that led you to eat a little more, drink a little more, or distract yourself a little bit more? What was that thing, right? Once you validate the pain behind what that trigger is doing to you, you will be more healed and you'll be able to stop and take a moment and go, instead of eating a whole batch of chocolate chip cookies, right? I can tell myself I love and support myself, even though I want those cookies. And those cookies are not going to give me the love and support that I'm truly seeking right now. They're not going to give me the comfort that I am truly seeking right now. I want comfort from that situation and that issue. And I can do that without cookies. That's what responsibility means to me, right? What does responsibility mean to you? Yeah, right? So it could mean, like you said, it could mean being able to not raise your voice. It could mean not yelling. It could mean not just saying, F it, I'm going to go get fast food, right? It means, all right, I am aware and I accept the fact that I typically would go get French fries right now, or I would want to go have ice cream. But because I know that, I'm going to take a breath, and I know I have the ability to respond differently, respond in a better way. So, what do I really need in this moment? I need some love and support. I'm going to go get that in a different way. Maybe I'll journal. Maybe I'll write a song. Maybe I'll reach out to a friend. Maybe I'll have tuna instead of cookies, because what I really need is some protein. Right? Like, just taking a moment to see how you're responding to something and having the ability to respond in a healthier way, it's going to change your life, right? So the last step is inspired action, right? So the first three are really happening in your head, right? So getting awareness for why you do what you do and what you're doing, to soothe yourself, right? The awareness for that. Second step is the acceptance of what that behavior has really meant to your life. What have you missed out on because of that behavior? But also acceptance of yourself. Accept that you were doing the best you could with the information you had at the time, right? Accepting those things, right? The third part of this is responsibility. So the ability to respond in a more empowered way when, not if, something triggers you, right? So we're going to be consistently triggered throughout our lives. It's going to happen. You're never going to be untriggered forever, right? It's not going to happen. So how can we respond in a better way? By walking through these steps, right? Really knowing why you're doing what you're doing, what your behavior is, why you're doing it, what started that behavior, what you were really seeking, right? In that moment, which was not sugar, right? It was support, it was love, it was comfort. That's what you really wanted, right? Then accepting what your strategy has done to your life and being able to respond in a way where you go, take a beat. I used to respond this way to that trigger. But now that I'm more aware and now that I know better, I choose to do this instead. Right? Responsibility. Inspired action now is, what are you going to do about this new knowledge that you have, right? This new awareness, which is big, right? This is the stuff that's going to change your life. So how can you make those changes? How can you do that? Well, certainly walking through these steps yourself can help you do that. You can do that, absolutely. But you could also choose to work with somebody that will help you in a systematic way look at your responses to your triggers and change those things, because luckily we can respond differently and we can change the meaning of anything that has felt painful to us in the past. There's lots of painful stuff in life, but how we respond to it is something we can change, right? We can make it mean different things. And because of neuroplasticity, because your brain is always changing on a physical level, right? We can change the actual brain matter, right? With different thoughts. Because we can do that, you can change your life, right? So can I help you walk through that stuff? Absolutely. That is what my book is about. And that is what all my programs are about going forward. Reach out. I completely invite you to reach out to someone, make some changes. If you don't know anybody that can help you with these specific things, I'm here for you, right? So feel free to sign up. Let's see what you can do. I've had people before these techniques lose up to 30 pounds in just 6 weeks. It's absolutely possible, but the real goal is to lose it and keep it off. That's what we really want, right? So if you want to keep it off, these techniques are going to help you do that, right?